We are ready to dive in. This is our first quarterly member meeting of 2024. So it's a good time to kick things off with everybody and make sure that you know what to look forward to. Here's a bit of what we'll cover. So I want to do an event recap, what we've been working on already this year, and then what's coming up, as well as deep diving into Line 5, since there's been some big decisions there in the recent months, and then giving you updates on clean energy and Great Lakes restoration and protection as well. And as far as event updates go, we just had a really great fly-in. The team, Ashley and I, went with Climate Action Campaign, who's one of our new funders for the Great Lakes Business Network. They invited us to DC, not only to really familiarize ourselves with their campaign, which we've been working with on an ad hoc basis for the last 2 years or so. We've been attending their meetings, but now we're officially funded by them. And so this was great to meet other Michigan partners in the room, and then also have a chance to meet with different representatives and their staff in DC. So you'll see some photos here, and we had a chance to meet with Rep. Slotkin and Rep. Stevens, as well as Stabenow's office and Skolton's office, really trying to champion climate and solution pollutions at the federal level and at the state level as well. And we had a great Michigan turnout, I'll say. There was a real powerhouse of Michigan folks in the room. I think we had one of the biggest groups out of all the different groups and states that were present. So it was a really good opportunity to meet our partners for future events as well going forward. And Ashley will talk more about what the Climate Action Campaign is all about in a little bit here as well. As well as the Chicago film screening that just took place. This was a sold-out event, which we were really excited about at the Patagonia store in the Fulton Market District. And we were lucky to sell, I believe it was like 105 or 110 tickets. And then in total, we had 93 people attend, 25 of them being walk-ups, which was great. So the word was really spreading. We had really strong partnerships for this event. We're fortunate to have folks from Half Acre provide beer. Of course, Patagonia's sponsorship of holding the venue. And then Wabi was able to provide some wine for the event. And Plastic Beach Collections donated gifts for the giveaway. So really strong member turnout there, great engagement. We did have some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we actually weren't able to screen the troubled water film that we had originally intended to screen. We lost power due to a fire on the electrical lines just about 2 blocks away. So it was an unfortunate series of events, but we still were able to do a Q&A style event, and people were really engaged and excited to hear from Beth Wallace on the Line 5 expertise that she holds, and then also from Nathan Wright, who is an Indigenous partner and has experience with pipeline advocacy as well. So folks really stuck around, which was great. They didn't just leave when the power went out. And overall, I think we're looking forward to going back and maybe doing a retrial of the Troubled Water film or of another film coming out called Bad River, which has more of the Indigenous perspective. So keep an eye out. We hope to come back, and people are definitely excited for that. And I'll pass it over to Lisa. And I'm wondering, did these get switched around? Or we're good. I think we're good. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. So I am very excited to talk about our upcoming DC fly-in opportunities. We actually have 2 opportunities to participate, and I know a few people on this call are planning to attend already, so that's really exciting. But on March 4th through 6th, the GLBN will be taking members to DC for some legislative meetings to share our Great Lakes priorities and basically influence or introduce the Great Lakes Business Network to some of our federal congressionals. So we do still have a couple of spots remaining. So if you are not participating already and would like to, please reach out to me as soon as possible and I can help get you set up with that. We're really excited. So the events will be We'll gather for basic training on best practices with meeting with our legislators. We'll walk through all of our key talking points, and our staff team will prepare all of this ahead of time for you. So all you will need to do is show up with your business story and an enthusiasm for Great Lakes protection, and we will make sure that you feel prepared and equipped to participate in these meetings. And then we will spend the day after that training meeting with different Great Lakes decision makers to share business stories of why Great Lakes protection is so important. And so this photo is from last year when we did this as part of the second event, which is another opportunity for business members to participate in partnership with the Healing Our Waters Coalition. So we'll be doing the GLBN specific meetings the first 2 days. And then if you're interested in the second opportunity, we'll be partnering with environmental organizations from around the Great Lakes region through our partners at the Healing Our Waters Coalition. And they'll be putting together teams mixed with different green groups and different community leaders, and GLBN will be the business voice of that event. So those teams will be divided up by state, and we'll be meeting with different state decision makers as a team for the second half of the week. So if you're interested in either of those opportunities, we do have funding to support your travel and your participation, so don't let that be a barrier, and definitely reach out to me as soon as possible. Or if there's someone in the network that you think might be interested who's not on this call, definitely give them a nudge as well. And I'm happy to answer any other questions. And Sam, I know you're on the call, so not to put you on the spot, but if you want to share anything about your experience last year, um, we have a little time for that as well.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Highly recommend it. I didn't have any lobbying experience, so it was nice that part of the um, yeah event with the partners there with how what included a training, a morning of training, and I'm sure the first event with GLBN will as well, and that just helped kind of set the stage of kind of what the key talking points are going into these meetings with the different leaders. And it was also fun to be paired up with different organizational or environmental organization groups, within the region, just to meet like-minded individuals. And yeah, kind of, you go into a few of these meetings, and by the time, by the end of it, you've got your talking points dialed. But from us, from GLBN's point of view, it's easy just to talk about our businesses, and that had a lot of weight in these rooms, while being paired up with the environmental groups, to be the ones to kind of say, like, we care because it's driving our bottom line. That stood out quite a bit. So real receptive to the conversations that we were having, and highly suggest it for sure. It's a great time.
Thanks so much, Sam.
All right. And then for the last event-related topic for at least this quarter that we have on our radar, we're looking forward to doing a educational webinar with Harvest Solar, one of our members based in Jackson, Michigan. Harvest works all throughout the region, so it will not just be Michigan specific, but this will be a great opportunity, and it will be focused on incentives for businesses. But also if you're a homeowner, they can ask questions around that as well. But we had a really great turnout at our last educational webinar, which encompassed energy efficiency, EVs, and solar. So we thought we would do a bit more of a deep dive on solar and what's available to all of you, as this really is a hot topic, and we want to make it as accessible as possible for everybody. So we are looking for guest speakers to speak to any solar arrays that they have on their businesses. So Tony, if you are with us, we may be pinging you. I know you have solar on your building at Ann Arbor T-shirt Company. But yeah, we're looking forward to do that. It'll be 9 in the morning. Again, we're just trying this new time slot to see if it works for folks instead of the lunch and learn. But we hope you can make it, and there'll be a calendar invite coming around soon. And at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Beth as we switch over to our issue area line 5 deep dive.
Thanks, Zoe, and thanks everyone for being on. I'm just going to wave and say hi. I'm in my car. I apologize. I had a rough morning. We have a lot of wet snow, and I couldn't get out of our driveway. So little late getting back to my house. Apologies. So I am going to do a overview of some of the legal pieces that are really important and up and coming, one of which we're going to be engaging in. I'll talk a little bit about the screenings, although we've already mentioned that. But we're going to be shifting to a new screening, which was mentioned, Bad River, which I'll describe, and then I want to talk about upcoming actions that we hope to do in the next 6 months. So starting with a legal piece, we are on February 8th, so next week, there will be an oral argument in the Bad River Band versus Enbridge appeal. As many of you might recall, last year, a federal judge actually ordered the shutdown of Line 5 on their reservation, which means that Enbridge will have to shut down the entire pipeline because they have been trespassing since 2013 with expired easements with the Bad River Band. And what this means is they have a 3-year period starting last March to shut down Line 5. And they also have to exgorge some profits to the Bad River Band. Unfortunately, that ruling did not take into account the urgency in important parts of Line 5 becoming exposed and unsupported in the Bad River. If erosion happens and that occurs, the line will shut down immediately. And so there's concern that that could happen as early as the spring. Experts have said one rainfall could expose the pipeline and cause an emergency shutdown order. So the Bad River Band is still in court. They're going to be doing oral arguments on the 8th to convince the appellate court that there's a more urgent need for Line 5 to shut down. It's actively already violating their sovereignty and trespass, and Enbridge needs to be required to pay a lot more than $5 million. Otherwise, pipeline companies are just going to continue to do this and view it as a cost of doing business. And so, as you know, the Great Lakes Business Network has been a huge supporter of their work and their effort to uphold their rights. And so we'll be in the room on the 8th listening to oral arguments and making sure that they feel the support from the community as they continue to fight for their rights as a tribe. Additionally, the Attorney General is going to be doing her oral arguments for the state of Michigan's case, which is upholding public trust. She is arguing that Line 5 is in violation of public trust and needs to be shut down. Right now, there's an appeals process to try to get that case back to state court because it is a state-based issue. And so on March 21st, the Attorney General will be doing oral arguments to bring that case back to the state of Michigan, where Judge Jamo is poised to move quite quickly. He's already heard quite a bit on this case, and it's been in limbo since this remand issue has been in play. So on March 21st, there's going to be quite a bit of turnout to Cincinnati, Ohio, for the oral argument for the Attorney General. She's asked that people turn out, and show support. So we'll be doing quite a bit of that. And then the last legal case that I'll mention, and is one that we're going to be actively engaging in, is the Michigan Public Service Commission case. As you might have heard right before the holidays, the tunnel was approved in part by the Michigan Public Service Commission. So they had the duty of approving whether a pipeline can go inside of a tunnel, which they have tentatively done. It is contingent on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers decision, which is still several years out. They're in the process of developing an environmental impact statement for the tunnel itself. And so many groups right now are calling for a more robust permitting process from the Army Corps of Engineers, because no single agency is wholly looking at the impacts of Enbridge's proposal. And then the Great Lakes Business Network, along with several other parties, including the National Wildlife Federation, are formally appealing the decision by the Michigan Public Service Commission and arguing that the pipeline was approved by the Public Service Commission without taking true public need into account. And so I'm excited to report that the Business Network will be doing an amicus brief in this case bringing up the latest report that shows an orderly shutdown of Line 5 is actually in our economic interest. So that'll be the position that the Business Network brings to the table, and we'll be coming to all of you very soon, both with a draft outline of that amicus brief, as well as the desire to gain approval to file that. So exciting movement that we can participate in. And then I'm going to do just a quick overview of what's upcoming, and then I can open it up to questions. We already mentioned that right now we are in the middle of doing troubled water screenings. It's a film that documents the beauty of the lakes and the importance of protecting them from a perspective of folks that get out and recreate and enjoy the Great Lakes. Highly recommend it. We have a link to view that video until I think early February. And so if you have interest in doing a personal screening, we can get you that link so you can watch it. It's about 60 minutes long. And then upcoming on March 15th, there will be a new documentary released to AMC theaters that features the Bad River Band. And after this meeting, we'll be sure to get out a trailer for that film. A few of us have been able to screen it ahead of time, and it's extremely empowering. It's a resistance story of this tribe who is going after their rights and their sovereignty against fossil fuels. And so it's really uplifting and energizing. I think everybody here will really enjoy this film, and I hope in the springtime we could find creative ways to lift up their message and get it across. And I mention that because right now, because of all of the legal things that are swirling, there's actually a really important ask in front of President Biden, and it is the ask that we're all circling right now and trying to get attention on, which is the courts have asked President Biden and his administration to weigh in on Canada's arguments that Line 5 is required infrastructure due to this 1977 treaty. And so right now, the courts have asked Biden to weigh in on whether he views Line 5 as a part of that treaty or whether the tribe's sovereignty and their treaty rights circumvent the Treaty of 1977, which Canada is trying to trigger to prevent the shutdown of Line 5. So we are doing a lot of advocacy through these screenings, through communications on the lobby days, and through education meetings with lawmakers to try to get pressure on President Biden to do the right thing in this moment. All of the action alerts that you might be seeing from Oil and Water Don't Mix, National Wildlife Federation, Groundwork, and the Business Network revolve around reaching out to President Biden in this moment and telling him to prioritize our rights as citizens over what Canada and Enbridge would like for profit. So we'll continue to be pushing that with all of you as we push out these screenings, as we start to advertise the lobby day in March. And then hopefully down the pike, I think a couple of you are at this table where we're actually working with Senator Peters to try to develop some more accountability measures, including exploring the possibility of a field hearing in northern Michigan this summer to continue to put pressure both on Enbridge and the agencies around the risk Line 5 poses. So as we continue to do the outreach to the key targets within Congress, including Senator Peters, Dingell, and of course Biden, ultimately we'll be reaching out with all of these opportunities, including ways that perhaps folks can do some op-eds and some earned media as well. So I know that's a lot. I want to take questions, but I also want to check in with our team to see if we're okay on time as well. And did I miss anything?
Yeah, that was a great overview. I think we're good on time if we want to take some questions before we go on to the next issue area. Okay, I'm hearing that.
Great. One thing I'll just add is we are hearing really great things about President Biden's positioning on this issue. And the big hurdle that we know we need to overcome, we've actually heard it from his team, is he needs cover and he needs that public pressure to do the right thing. So that's what we're going to continue to do. And thanks everybody for stepping up in this moment. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Beth. I'm going to pass it over to Ashley.
Yeah, appreciate that. And just to put a finer point on it too, if any folks on this call have members of Congress on their speed dial or can text any of their staffers, just giving them a quick nudge to encourage the Biden administration's Department of Justice to weigh in on line 5 in a favorable way, and for that, against the use of the 1977 treaty. In that case, please do so. The clock is really ticking on that ask, and that would have a really positive impact. So okay, moving on to clean energy. Just wanted to highlight a couple of advocacy points that we worked on recently in DC. We are working on advocating for the EPA to finalize a number of different really critical standards in these first few months of 2024. So actually, if we want to jump to the next slide, we've got those outlined here. Sorry, it's a little bit small, but you can see, basically late 2023, we were able to finalize the methane pollution standard. The one that's really on the horizon line that we are expecting to drop pretty much any day now is the soot pollution standard. There are vehicle standards as well, mercury and air toxics, and coal ash standards that are really vitally important that are coming down the pike. EPA should be finalizing each of these in early 2023. So I can share around this tracker if folks are interested, but these standards are really critical to reducing harmful emissions, continuing to spur the clean energy economy, and make it less affordable to continue to use dirty fuel sources or trying to work to eliminate vehicle pollution. So this is kind of overlaid here. I'll just do a quick intro. If folks aren't aware, there's basically these rules will become under threat from the use of the Congressional Review Act. And so this is sort of the timeline. The rule is finalized, and then we've got this big window where it could become subject to Congressional Review Act use. Right now, we know that we have President Biden as a backstop to provide some cover. So even if a bad Congressional Review Act passed through Congress, it would be likely vetoed. Of course, this is an election year. We don't know what administration we're going to necessarily have come November. And so that's why we want these rules finalized as early as possible into 2023 or in 2024, so that we are hopefully dealing with a pretty protective administration moving forward. So yeah, this is just a snapshot of some of these standards. Obviously, they're going to really have a positive impact on communities across the Midwest to help reduce pollution and help improve air quality for families and for businesses. So we'll be working to continue to articulate those benefits for businesses. There will be op-ed opportunities, LTE opportunities, as well as advocacy opportunities. This will also be included in our upcoming fly-in. But we've got a letter to Congress right now, our ambition petition that we can also share around with businesses in the near future here. And can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so just a little bit more on that defense. These rules are a really great companion to the Inflation Reduction Act, but the Inflation Reduction Act continues to be under threat. As you can see here, Republicans have already voted 31 times since the passage of the IRA. So we know that we've still got a lot of defensive work to do there. Elections can change things pretty quickly. We also have heard that there are some challenges ongoing with the Farm Bill. We've been working on advocacy to protect the climate smart ag provisions within the Farm Bill. But those kind of are also remaining under some threat. We have heard that the Farm Bill likely will be extended by 1 year, but I don't think we're going to see the 5-year re-auth that we all are hoping for. So we're continuing to do some advocacy in that space as well. And then, of course, the ongoing appropriations negotiations are underway, and we're continuing to track that as well. So happy to answer any questions about this. And of course, we are doing some state level policy work to advance clean energy in each of our states as well. For example, in Michigan, we know that we're going to be working on hopefully working on community solar on the horizon line here in Michigan to pass enabling legislation at the state legislative level. But just kind of wanted to give a bigger federal snapshot of some of the work that we are currently doing.
Thank you, Ashley. And I'll just add, we are really going to be working with the CAC team as well for comms needs as far as helping with messaging. And so if this is an issue that you really want to lend your business voice to, we definitely have the resources to help craft that message to your story as well.
I got a question. So, I mean, maybe related, maybe not related at all, but are you guys tracking the climate emissions disclosure from the SEC potential rule coming out, or watching what California and Europe did? Is that relevant to any of our businesses at all, or worth tracking?
Yeah, it's definitely on our radar. I don't think we have any advocacy planned in that space right now, but it's definitely something that we're monitoring, and I think that could shift depending.
Yeah, one question here. Is there going to be a push this year to follow up on what we missed on, the big legislation we had last year, community solar? And can we be involved in that if it is?
Yes. So Bob's talking about the My Clean Energy Future package, which was passed last year, unfortunately did not include enabling legislation for community solar. And that is something that is on the kind of wish list for us and our partners. We know that there is some legislative interest in it, but whether it moves is yet to be seen. We're GLBN is part of a number of working group meetings that are starting to have conversations with legislators and try to push that forward. So we will definitely let you know when there are advocacy opportunities, and we are optimistic about trying to move that this year. But of course, with this being an election year, it's just, I think we're getting a little bit of a sense from some of the Dems, at least, that they're like, well, we just did a lot on renewable energy last year. Maybe we can, take our foot off the gas a little. I hate using that analogy, but maybe we can rest on our laurels a little bit. So we're really working hard to not let them do that. But that's kind of, it is very much on the priority list for this year.
All right, and it's time to switch over to restoration and protection then.
Thanks, Zoe. Quick note on the title change, we decided that, after deep diving into restoration a little bit more, we needed to incorporate the second piece of that, which is protection. So just explaining a little bit of a title change there. Our campaign now is more all-encompassing of Great Lakes issues, still really the same focus area for our work, but we added that protection there in the title. You can flip to the next slide. So just a quick overview of some of the pieces we've been working on in the restoration protection area. I know some of you were on our webinar, our kickoff webinar with Plastic Free Milwaukee, but we're really excited to start engaging more purposefully in 2024 on microplastics and from the lens of water quality specifically. And this was one of the issues that was most supported in the member survey that we did as something businesses were interested in working on. So we're in the very preliminary stages of exploring this as a business network issue area, but we are really interested in hearing from you if this is something your business is interested in participating with as we shape this campaign. So we're seeking some issue leads for this campaign. And we'd also love to learn more about the ways that maybe your business has taken actions to reduce your use of plastic or engaged with other partners on similar work. So mostly an FYI that this is coming and you'll start seeing more opportunities in the microplastics world, but also a plea for interest. Let us know if you're interested in helping move some of this forward. The second piece, so GLBN has been engaging with partner groups around the region to develop the 2024 Joint Great Lakes Priorities Statement. So on the slide, you'll see the image of last year's priority statement. And really, this is just an opportunity for a lot of the hard-hitting industry groups to come together and identify what we want Congress to work on in terms of Great Lakes protection this year. So you'll see some of the groups listed there. We're very excited this year. GLBN has really focused on trying to get some proactive climate language incorporated into the Joint Priority Statement, which was really noticeably absent the past few years, as well as trying to implement a broader list of some of the toxics that we want Congress to prioritize addressing. So I think last year's statement really focused on PFAS, and this year we're trying to incorporate a broader swath specifically mentioned in the joint priorities. So once we have basically the final version that all of the working group agrees upon, we'll be sending this to the GLBN co-chairs for sign off to incorporate our logo if it still aligns with our vision for priorities this year. Down the pipeline, so we are excited to plan a variety of legislative meetings later this year. So this is mostly an FYI. And also, again, if you're interested in maybe hosting an in-district meeting, what we're envisioning is similar to our working lunch last year with Senator Peters, where we will gather members together to share priorities, and then also incorporate some sort of networking component. So whether that's a meeting and then a happy hour or sort of a mix and mingle event or a working lunch, we're really open. But that's something that we're excited to get the ball moving forward for later this year. In the polluter accountability lens, this is mostly just an FYI. This is something that GLBN had engaged on late last year when the polluter accountability bill was introduced in Michigan, and we had a GLBN member actually participate in the press conference in Lansing when that bill was introduced. But basically, this legislation just puts the ownership of cleanup and liability back onto a polluting entity rather than on taxpayers. So we do anticipate that this will resurface this year. And so mostly just an FYI that GLBN is staying engaged with the community that's trying to move this forward in Michigan specifically. And there will likely be additional opportunities for businesses to weigh in. So again, just keep us in mind if you're interested. Let us know and we'll add you to our list for outreach. And then lastly, we are creating another GLBN video highlighting our businesses and some of the reasons that a healthy and clean Great Lakes is good for your business. So if you're interested in being featured, we'll be setting up interviews and trying to capture some of that footage in the next few months. And it's a really great way to highlight your involvement and your passion for the Great Lakes as well as your business. So we'll be doing outreach, but we'd love to hear from you if that's something that you're interested in participating in. And I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these restoration and protection items.
And I'll just flag Sam in the chat said he's worked on this in Hawaii and would be excited to be plugged in as well.
That's really great to hear, Sam. One of the leading groups is the Ocean Conservancy. So I think there's a lot of overlapping strategies and interests there. So I'll definitely be reaching out.
Yeah, and I see Peter and Travis as well. So awesome. Lots of excitement around this issue area. And that's what we do at GLBN. We try to follow where you all want us to go with your issue area concerns as well. So, great. Well, that wraps up what we have for, our scheduled presentation this evening or morning. But, we have time now for Q&A if there's anything folks want to discuss. If you want a deeper dive on any of the issue areas, we've definitely got some time. Yeah. And if not, thank you all. We're just excited to see your faces when we get the chance to, and looking forward to lots of good events this year. So, check your emails, stay in touch, and we'll be making sure to provide lots of opportunities for advocacy. So.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
Thanks all. We'll get the screening information around to you as well. Good one.
Good
Have a
one.
good day, everybody.
Thanks, so.
Okay.